coming today. This is an important day in the Supreme Court of the United States. This is an important day for 800,000 dreamers, DACA recipients, folks that are here and in every single way are very much Americans. They are nurses and teachers and EMS workers. They are in all parts of our economy. They're in the private sector. They're small business owners. They're homeowners. They pay real estate taxes. They pay sales taxes. And so they're very much part of the United States of America without one little exception. They don't have that card. President Obama 7 years ago gave them the ability to stay here. It was a good decision because, as I said, they are Americans in every sense of the word. And so now the Supreme Court will get an opportunity to decide their fate. They pay over $460 billion. They contribute $460 billion to our GDP every decade. They pay their taxes. They are very much an intricate part of America. We in the House of Representatives passed H.R. 6, which legitimizes dreamers and TPS recipients. That's the DREAM Act. It was passed by the House of Representatives. It's still not being heard by the Senate. Over 80% of Americans across the country, whether in blue states or red states, support dreamers. No other immigrant group has gotten more support from the general public across America than dreamers. And I think people feel a connection with them. We feel that the Supreme Court should hear the arguments based on their merit, and they should render a decision similar to what the lower courts have alluded to, that these young people deserve to stay in America. I have myself been part of this process as a friend of the court through an amicus brief. My office has engaged this process to ensure that we support dreamers in whichever way we can. So we must continue to put the pressure on in the streets across America. We must continue to ensure that our voices are heard loud and clear, that these young people deserve to stay in the U.S. Nosotros estamos aquí hoy, un día muy importante para los Estados Unidos, cuando se oye el caso en la Corte Suprema de los soñadores. Más de 800,000 de ellos están en los Estados Unidos. Ellos están aquí porque el presidente Obama le otorgó lo que se llama DACA. Dos cortes federales menores han tomado decisiones para frenar las acciones del presidente Trump de expulsarlo de esta nación. Y hoy se oyen los argumentos basados en su mérito en la Corte Suprema de los Estados Unidos. Y esperamos que esa corte sea sensible y que ellos puedan quedarse aquí con sus familias, al lado de sus familias y sus vecinos, como merecen estar. Ellos contribuyen más de 460 billones de dólares cada década, pagan impuestos, muchos son profesores, son policías, son enfermeras, son realmente parte íntegra, dueños de pequeños negocios. Un alto número de ellos también son dueños de su propia vivienda, pagan impuestos de real estate. Son realmente una parte íntegra de América y nosotros queremos que ellos se queden aquí y que la Corte sea sensible frente a las necesidades de ellos. Ya este programa tiene 7 años de existencia, no hay razón por cual se debe de eliminar. Por eso le pedimos a los jueces de la Corte Suprema que sean sensibles por la necesidad de estas personas, de estos jóvenes y sus familias. Let me also say that I also heard Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor say last week that unfortunately she feels the court has been doing Trump's work, that the court has not proven to be recently transparent, balanced, independent, and that they're too quick to the trigger to do the president's agenda. So I hope that the court, the other members of the court, hear that statement, and that in fact they hear the arguments that are being brought before it today in a judicious and transparent way. Esperamos de que también los miembros de la Corte Suprema escuchen los comentarios de la jueza Sonia Sotomayor, que dijo esta semana que ella piensa que las cortes son muy rápidas para hacer el trabajo del presidente, que no es realmente una corte que se está comportando imparcial, transparente y que por favor escuchen los argumentos que se hacen hoy y que lo tomen en cuenta de una manera imparcial y transparente. With that, I give you our Board President, Gale Brewer.
First of all, thank you very much to the Congressman Espaillat and to certainly the Northern Manhattan Coalition for Immigrant Rights and all the groups who have been working on this for a very long time. Those words, deferred action for childhood arrival, DACA, are very, very important and mean a lot to us. I want to say I do every year about 30 graduations. Guess who the valedictorians are? They are often DACA students because they are working so hard and they are so much a part of our community. We're talking about people who were brought here as children, who grew up here. They're in the Little League, they're in soccer, they go to school, and they grew up in the United States of America. What does this program do? It gives young people who are already here, who were brought here as children, a chance to build a life outside the shadows. And this is done administratively, case by case. What kind of person says no? This has to go. What kind of person says people who grew up in this country and are law-abiding members of society should be kicked out? What kind of a person? The kind of a person forgets that nearly every American who isn't an immigrant themselves is a descendant of immigrants. It is cruel, it is wrong, and it is political. More than 2 million people could qualify for DACA in the United States, economically, morally, diplomatically. The only people who will profit from mass deportations are the people who spread hate and fear. It's not just about President 45, the con man in the White House. It's political. Want to know why this political lawsuit is happening? It's because there are apparently leaders in red states who are prepared to sue if it doesn't. It's mind-boggling. These people own this. 212 of the 223 Republicans voted to overturn DACA in 2014. Horrible. It's a political party that has almost entirely collapsed and given in to hate and fear. We're standing, as we know, and we say it over and over again, the greatest city of immigrants in the world. Despite all the challenges and obstacles, the promise is that as a city we will succeed together, but only with young people and people in general like the DACA. Every day we're getting closer to delivering the promise that we want. And I will say, as I said, as I began, these people are very much a part of the success of this city. We're going to beat the Republicans and that guy in the White House because we have a lot more to offer than they do. A society where everyone succeeds together. That's the promise of America. We'll keep fighting for it and keep fighting for the dreamers who deserve to see the promise fulfilled. And Congressman and all the immigrant groups who've been working on this and all the amazing DACA students. I teach at Hunter College. Half the class is often DACA. They're the best students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I had the pleasure to preside over the House of Representatives when the Dream and Promise Act was passed in the House of Representatives this session. And we're optimistic that if the courts rule favorably, that the Senate will be compelled to take this bill up as well. So with that, I want to present with you somebody that has been working on a daily basis to assist immigrants, DACA recipients, Dreamers, TPS recipients. She does work on a daily basis to help ensure that they stay legally here in our country. Alba Villa from the Northern Manhattan Coalition for Immigrants' Rights.
Thank you, Congressman Espaillat and former President Brewer. I am very proud to lead an immigrant rights organization in New York City, in New York State, because we are very supported. And I want to acknowledge also Congressman Espaillat's leadership in Washington, in Congress, and really through our nation's capital, making sure that our voices are heard and our community's voices are heard and their echoes are loud. Today, the Supreme Court hears oral arguments on a very important case, and I want to take an opportunity to highlight the voices and contributions of the hundreds and thousands of DACA and Dreamers that this case really affects and what it represents. NCR, like many of the people that we serve, like all the people we serve, is resilient, and we're here to support our community in the longevity of the fight for what's right. And so, yes, DACA recipients are our clients, but they're also our coworkers, our teachers, our doctors, our nurses. If we are the cornerstone of our community, they are an integral part of the solid foundation that makes us who we are. So yesterday, the Center for Migration Studies of New York came out with a report that captured a lot of what we know already, how integral exactly DACA recipients are to our community. They make up more than 1 million workers, 33,000 of whom are teachers. They impact to our nation to have 1 million young adults yanked from our country, from our workforce, our economy, our schools, our family. That would be devastating. The Center for Migration Studies also found that 81% of DACA recipients have lived in the U.S. for more than 15 years. 83% is in the labor force, and of that pool, 95% is employed. Additionally, 346,445 U.S.-born children under the age of 18 have at least one DACA parent. 10,000 babies are born each day, and a quarter of them are Latino. The Latino community is the 11th largest economy of the world. So the impact that a wrong decision could have on this case is huge, and we are here standing with all of you to show our support. Quiero reconocer al Congresista Espaillat por su liderazgo en el Congreso y su compromiso a proyectar las voces de nuestra comunidad, no solo en los pasillos del Congreso, sino en toda la capital de esta nación. Hoy, en lo que la Corte Suprema de Justicia escucha los argumentos orales, en un caso muy importante, la coalición quiere recalcar las voces y las contribuciones de los cientos de millones de jóvenes que son elegibles para DACA. La coalición es resistente como nuestros clientes y las personas que servimos. Y estamos aquí para mostrar apoyo a nuestra comunidad y para preservar en la lucha. Sí, nosotros tenemos clientes que son DACA, pero también son nuestros compañeros de trabajo, son nuestras maestras, son nuestros doctores, son nuestras enfermeras, son nuestros vecinos, son una parte integral de nuestra comunidad. El Centro por los Estudios de Inmigración publicó un reporte precisamente ayer que captura la contribución que tienen los recipientes de DACA. Y para darle un ejemplo, 81% de los recipientes han vivido en los Estados Unidos más de 15 años. 83% son parte de la fuerza laboral y de eso 95% están empleados. Además, 346.455 de los niños nacidos en los Estados Unidos menores de 18 años de edad tienen por lo menos un padre o madre que es DACA. Cuando 10,000 bebés nacen diariamente y un cuarto de ellos son latinos, es importante que ayudemos a que las familias sigan juntas. La comunidad latina en los Estados Unidos es la unidécima economía más grande del mundo. Y hoy queremos resaltar la contribución de todos nuestros miembros de la comunidad. Muchas gracias.
Excuse me, can you give us your name and spell it, please?
My name is Alba Villa, A-L-B-A, V-I-L-L-A.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is a DACA recipient himself. Nuestro próximo orador es un recipiente de DACA. My former intern. He was also, era mi pasante también. And I may add, one of the best interns I had. Right, please welcome our good friend Jose Lopez.
Thank you, Congressman. I wanted to thank the Congressman for being such a strong supporter of the Dreamers and all the immigrants in Congress. I wanted to talk about, we all hear the stories, and it's true, most of us came when we were really young. So this is home. This is where, we know everything, like all our lives have been formed here. So to go back to a country that, where we were born is very foreign to us. It would be, crazy to do that. And then, most people won't do that, and it would cause people to live in the shadow again, which would happen, up until DACA was, done by President Obama. Up until that point, we weren't able to get driver's license, we weren't able to really go to school. It was really hard to just navigate everyday life and make a living. So with DACA, I've been able to get a work permit, I've been able to go to school, I've been able to pay for school, because as you know, the New York State DREAM Act wasn't passed until this year, so everything had to be paid out of pocket. But with, work permit, I was able to do that. through that, I was able to intern in Washington, D.C. and intern for Congressman Espaillat. I've been able to now work for Northern Manhattan Coalition for Immigrant Rights, where I see, every day, I work in the legal department, I see every day all the DACA recipients who come, to renew it, and this, there's a common theme amongst all of us, and, we all want to work hard, we all want to do better. The president, he tweeted that, a lot of dreamers are far from angels, as he put it, and that they're, criminals and all these things. And I think he forgets that even to qualify for DACA, you can't really have a criminal background. So it's just simply not true to say that dreamers are, breaking the law, because it's the contrary. It's you need to follow the law in order to be eligible for DACA. Quiero agradecerle al congresista por su apoyo. Yo quiero hablar acerca de todos los dreamers que estamos aquí, que nuestra vida está hecha aquí, que uno no puede ir a un país donde nació, que ha compartido toda su vida aquí. No sería posible, porque ya tenemos familia aquí, hay personas que tienen hijos, tienen trabajos. Toda nuestra vida está aquí en los Estados Unidos. Desde pequeños hemos estado honorando la bandera todos los días y sería cruel que la Corte Suprema no se ponga en el lado correcto de la historia y que termine el programa. Gracias a DACA yo he podido trabajar, yo he podido ir a la escuela, yo he podido pagar mis estudios trabajando. Y sin eso yo no sé qué estuviera haciendo. Hubiera sido bien difícil ir a la escuela a trabajar. Hubiera tenido que como esconderme por miedo de ser deportado. Yo espero que la Corte Suprema, que hoy cuando escucho los argumentos orales, que entienda que la gente está aquí para trabajar, no para ser criminales. Thank you.
Jose, how old are you?
I'm 23.
And when did you come?
When I was 5 years old.
From where?
From Mexico.
And where did you go to school?
I grew up upstate, but then I went to the City College of New York here in Harlem.
And when did you graduate?
I graduated last year in 2018.
Or which degree?
I did international studies.
Could you spell your name?
Jose Lopez, Jose Lopez.
Thank you, José. Nosotros estamos acompañados también por Eni Pichardo de la oficina de la fiscal general Tish James, y también estamos acompañados por Richard Crampton de Communications del Cayuga Center. We are also joined by Eni Pichardo from the New York State Office of Attorney General Tish James, and also Richard Crampton, the VP Corporate Communications person from the Cayuga Center. Any questions?
Congressman, I don't know if you can just respond to President Trump's tweet saying many of the people in DACA no longer very young are far from angels, some are very tough, hardened criminals. That's what the president tweeted earlier today. I know that the DACA recipient Jose responded. Can you respond?
Well, first and foremost, let me say this to you. DACA recipients voluntarily gave their personal information to the government, to the federal government. They gave them very precise, personal, confidential information, where they live, their date of birth, etc. So the government knows who they are. Because to apply for DACA, you have to relinquish all this information to the government. But in addition to that, as Jose stated earlier, you cannot violate or be convicted of a crime and be a DACA recipient. So that's totally false. A right-out lie trying to influence the decision of an independent body of government, the Supreme Court of the United States. That's a late-night tweet to try to influence those judges that he's trying to put there, many of whom have character issues, to try to influence their decision. A last-minute, Hail Mary. So this is uncalled for. This is what's wrong with America right now. The misinformation that DACA recipients are criminals, that's totally false and an outright lie. They have to abide by the law. They can be convicted of any crimes. they personally relinquish their personal information to the federal government. Voluntarily they did that when they applied. So I think that they're better citizens than Trump himself. Quiero decir que ellos, los recipientes de DACA, los Dreamers, voluntariamente le dieron la información al gobierno federal, su nombre, sus direcciones, su fecha de nacimiento, todos los datos personales cuando aplicaron. No pueden cometer ningún delito si no son elegibles para ese programa. De manera que los comentarios que ha hecho el presidente es una mentira, y yo creo que lo que trata es de influenciar en último momento la decisión de la Corte Suprema de una manera irregular, porque la Corte Suprema es un órgano independiente del gobierno y debe de tomar decisiones basadas en el mérito de los argumentos y no en un arranque emocional en el medio de la noche de un presidente que obviamente no está muy estabilizado.
You made an argument based on personal stories, but this is a legal case before the Supreme Court. From your understanding, what is the legal argument why this should not be overturned and thrown out?
First of all, I'm not a lawyer, but I will tell you that two lower courts have placed injunctions on this matter, that we joined the lawsuit, that President Obama had every right to issue an executive order, that in fact executive orders are part of the presidency of the United States. And this president has attempted to issue many executive orders that then have been ruled unfavorable or legitimate by the courts. So the use of an executive order is by no means an illegal act. This is a legal action that the President Obama took, and the court would then now render a decision today based on the merits of the arguments for and against. And we're very optimistic that the court, and we're hopeful that the court will be sensible in its approach to 500,000 or 800,000 young people that in every way are Americans, but that one little way, which is that they don't have that piece of paper. So we're asking for the courts to be reasonable. And I think reasonableness in a court of law is something that all Americans expect.
Congresista, si bien DACA ha traído un alivio migratorio, casi 1 millón de jóvenes, al final del día se va a necesitar una ley. ¿Qué tan cerca estamos de que se apruebe una ley con el actual presidente y con el futuro?
Bueno, nosotros aprobamos la ley HR 6, que fue la ley que recientemente le autorizó las estadías y legalizó la estadía de los recipientes de DACA. Nosotros esperamos de que con una decisión favorable de la Corte Suprema le dé un mensaje definitivo al Senado de los Estados Unidos y a la rama ejecutiva de este país para que estos jóvenes ya estén tranquilos con sus familias aquí en los Estados Unidos como se merece.
So Congressman Brewer, President, what has the impact been with this policy being in limbo? So what has the impact been on this district and this borough since the policy's been in limbo?
Well, I think that the group of young people supported by the amazing legal organizations that are around, we are all, it's like unanimous support in the city, whether you're in school, working, part of families, schools, athletics. As the congressman stated, the DACA recipients are beloved, respected, and supported. So I can say that in this borough, or I think in this city, they're revered. When I say that they are the leaders of the high schools and the colleges, I'm not kidding. So I would say that we are hopeful not only for their sake, but for our country's sake, that they are able to be full, have the piece of paper that the congressman is talking about.
So what will happen if they don't get it? What will the impact be on those that are not DACA recipients? How will it affect?
Well, I think as Jose stated, it will drive many of them underground. You know, many of them may not even speak the language of the country where they were born. Some of them came when they were 1 year, if not months old. So it will drive many of them underground. And that will be sad, another sad day for America, where young people that are teachers and are nurses and are homeowners and small business owners, that they have to go underground because our nation didn't apply the sensibility, that we didn't have the heart to really say what over 80% of Americans are saying across the United States. They're not just popular here in New York State, in New York City. They're very popular and supported across the country. So that's why I am really taken aback by this poison, this hateful attitude from the president to even go against the vast majority of Americans, including some of the members of his own political party. So, to drive these young people underground would be really a travesty.
For Alba or Jose, can you give us a sense of how many clients you work with at the coalition regarding this DACA issue? How many people you're dealing with?
So we serve 8,000 people a year, and many of them are DACA. I don't have the percentage, but I think something to highlight is the culture and the climate of fear that this and many of the other policies creates. And so you have hundreds of thousands of people that currently have work employment, work authorization, and are going about their lives, and yet they're afraid. Despite having some kind of current release, having an opportunity, they are afraid because they don't know at what moment that's going to be taken away from
Did you
them.
get flooded by calls of concerned immigrants after the Trump administration's actions?
We get flooded often, and often it's very cyclical, and it's based on a policy, a tweet, sometimes even something that's not really happening yet. But it's that sense of fear, the ICE raids. Any time that there is some potential immigration change, what now happens almost on a daily basis in terms of policy changes and fees waivers taken away, every single part of the process is under attack. And the process to legally come and stay is under attack. And so this sense of creating and criminalizing communities of immigrants is ridiculous, because oftentimes the people that are currently being under attack are on the right path, are here with some kind of permission. And so that, what I see every day and what I hear, and anytime anyone talks about it, they often break down in tears, because the sense of being afraid in your own skin is the worst thing that I can imagine someone experiencing, even with a work permit. So imagine if you don't have one.
And let me just add that 97% of DACA recipients are either working or going to school. El 97% de los recipientes de DACA son personas que están trabajando o están estudiando. O sea, son personas productivas para nuestra comunidad. Last question.
Congressman, I wonder if this court decision doesn't go the Democrats' way, will you guys be willing to work with the president to reach a consensus, maybe giving him the wall in exchange for DACA? There's been a lot of talk about that. What would you respond?
I don't think that these young people should be held hostage for a medieval war that will not impact or resolve in any way, shape, or form our immigration situation at the border. Clearly, that's a situation that's being driven by a crisis in the Triangle country for the most part, a food security crisis because of a 6 to 7 year drought. Violence and gang activity are pushing people to migrate north. They have nothing to do with that. So why hold them hostage in exchange for the wall? The answer to your question is absolutely not. Thank you so much. That's it. Thank you.
Jose, can I ask you a question? What concerns do you have about DACA being rescinded? And if you thought about what you would do?
I mean, it would be difficult to, for example, my work permit, would expire next year, and then that, if DACA were to be terminated, I wouldn't be able to renew it. So what that would mean is that technically, I'm not, eligible to work in the United States because I don't have a valid work permit. So then, that leads to other things expiring, like your driver's license, all these things, and it just kind of leads to, what I do. I wouldn't be able to really work. I'd be afraid to, not be able to provide ID if I were to be stopped by, an immigration officer. And ultimately, it'd just be fear of deportation. So I think.
How much does this weigh on you?
I mean, it's my life, so it's it's a lot of weight, because it's something that you wake up thinking, every day that well, what's going to happen in court, what's going to happen, what is the president going to say? So it's definitely something that kind of keeps you up at night and keeps you thinking about well, what's going to happen if I don't have this work permit? And I honestly don't know what I do.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.